Hello, this is Edna White. I am so glad you're with me today. Today we're going to talk about trauma dumping. Why some people dump their traumas on us and why what's unloaded often isn't really trauma. So what is trauma dumping? Trauma dumping is a term used to describe intense oversharing, which can leave everyone involved feeling more distressed and helpless. People who have trauma dump or over emote find it hard to process, filter, and regulate their emotions, especially when they're threatened and their brain gets involved. Okay? Understanding the dynamics of trauma dumping can help you distinguish when to listen and when to say no. So here we go. People who dump traumatic thoughts, feelings, energy onto others, who speak and behave with wild vulnerability, find it very difficult to organize, process, and filter their feelings appropriately. Sometimes this suggests a deeper psychological problem, such as borderline personality or post-traumatic stress disorder, but it's often because people are increasingly confused by culturally mixed messages regarding what and when it is okay to share. The word trauma has also become more elastic, kind of bendable, meaning that some people experience and describe relatively minor life challenges as traumatic, such as losing a promotion at work, right? Or waiting online for gas and someone cuts you off. Being single, I know I did that. Having noisy neighbors and developing wrinkles may overwhelm or often upset people. But those are qualitatively different experiences too. For example, being raped, witnessing a murder, getting involved in a fatal accident, or a prematurely losing a loved one. That's really traumatic. It's not surprising that trauma dumping is on the increase. Over emoting is encouraged and has become the norm on social media and in talk and in reality shows. Over emotions. Oh, you get them, all of this emotions all over the place and totally dramatic. Okay? So what's more, there's more now a mountain of self-help manuals and messages and instructions to get in touch with our feelings and tell each other about them. Yet at the same time, in many of our schools and workplaces, emotions and feelings are not properly attended to or nurtured. In some places, they are even discouraged, like church. So whilst we are told feelings are a good thing, in reality, there's a little opportunity to practice and learn how to express, understand, and process them. Now, trauma dumping and the threat to the brain. Let's talk about that. Now, ultimately, what determines our ability to acknowledge, manage, and process our feelings effectively is the way in which we learn to notice and regulate the emotions of our threat brain, which is part of our emotion system that is alert to and responds to danger. An overactive threat brain will flood us with powerful feelings of thoughts, which, if we do not soothe and contain them, will eventually spill out in our daily lives, on people, relationships, things, workplace, school, everywhere. Our threat brain can be activated by both real and imagined threats, which is why, for some people, relatively minor problems can feel terrifying. Our ability to replay, imagine, and overthink make it so. Trauma dumping causes problems for everyone involved because it's highly charged. And it's highly charged, and your speech is different because you kind of simulate bigger words that almost make you look like you're the victim. And then your behavior is then attacked by your nervous system because your speech activates that, and your body's activated, and then your hormones and your chemicals make you so hypervigilant and alert. So detoxing for this can take some time because the feelings that arise after the trauma binge, for example, people often feel guilty and ashamed because they sense they've shared too much and or embellished and exaggerated the details of their problem. They can also feel increased anxiety because the dumping solution hasn't taken away the pain. Instead, it has supplied it with a problem-focused energy that keeps it memory active. So you keep going over and over. I shouldn't have said this, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have did this. Trauma dumping is like a binge drinker. It may feel good in the moment, but the after effects are lasting and painful. So what do you do after that? What goes on? What do you do after getting to the situation such as this? Why me? Why does this happen to me? Trauma dumping, on the other hand, is one-sided. And the people that are used as objects upon which to project the pain, when this happens, the receiver can experience secondary trauma. So you ever started speaking to someone and all of a sudden they started telling things that they maybe have to tell their therapist and you don't know what to do with it? Well, these kind of emotions are contagious. And the negative feelings become infectious. So you go home after hearing that, oh my God, how does she do it? How does he do it? And you start worrying about them. So now you're traumatized. And you see that person differently because you're traumatized. Because you were given too much information. Just like my granddaughter says, TMI, TMI. So why me? If you find yourself frequently at the receiving end of someone's trauma dump, ask yourself, what is it about me that attracts or enables people to use me in this way? Because let me just make it plain to you guys, it's nothing special. When people dump on you, they're not thinking that you're the counselor of the year or the person that they can come to tell the story. They just don't know when to shut up. They just don't know how to categorize all of that, and their emotions are all over the place. So the first person that pays them attention is you, and you get the dump. So ask yourself that. What is it about me that attracts or enables people to use me in this way? The tone in which you ask yourself this question is crucial, because this is not about blaming yourself, but rather compassionately understanding how your relationship might not be serving you well. So ask yourself this question kindly and with curiosity. People who trauma dump unconsciously seek out others who can effectively become the container or the hook for their unwanted feelings. In all of us, there's a sixth sense that operates through our unconsciousness, looking out for and connecting with people who, in different ways, enable our conscious needs, yearnings, and characteristics to be seen, heard, and related to. A person who trauma dumps is unconsciously seeking people who have stronger than average needs to be liked or pleased by others. This need arises again, often unconsciously, from a fear of being rejected or being unlovable. It comes from a belief learned in early childhood that we can secure love and safety by being good, compliant, and submissive to others. Now, have you ever had someone that would always come to you and tell you stuff? You didn't ask, you didn't want to talk about it, but it came to you. And on top of it, they never asked you at the end of after the trauma dump, what do you think I should do? They never asked you that. They said, oh, well, girl, I gotta go. Or, oh, so-and-so just called me. They dumped on you. And they split. Well, that might be an old term, but they did. If you find it difficult to stop your friend or partner or whoever from dumping on you, you may have this tendency which comes from the freeze part of our flight, flee, freeze, threat brain response. Okay? So when someone's telling you something, sometimes you freeze. Then you start thinking, what the heck am I going to say to them? I don't know anything about this. So you freeze. Or you get ready to go. Like, hey, I got to go. I got somewhere to go. I'm sorry I can't talk to you, but I got to go. You take off. Right? That's your threat brain working kind of like to protect you. While animals literally freeze by remaining still, humans freeze their own needs and beliefs so they can fully focus on other people. So we kind of not freeze our bodies, but we freeze what we need to do. Unfortunately, threat brain strategies such as fighting, fleeing, and freezing rarely support good relationships, and in the case of trauma dumping, help neither party. Discovering that you might be caught up in a threat brain freeze loop is your first step in learning how to deal with people who take advantage of you. Ask yourself, what did I do as a child to secure approval, attention, and love from my parents? Be honest. I'm going to ask you again. What did I do as a child to secure approval, attention, and love from my parents? And consider where you fall on the continuum from submissive, people-pleasing, to dominant, competitive, and achievement-oriented. Like getting awards, making the triple A list, climbing mountains just to be seen, going on 5K runs just to be seen, those type of things. And nothing ever, you win, but nothing ever changes. Then taking small steps toward becoming compassionately assertive can help. You say, hey, sis, this is a bit much for me. I'm not equipped for that. That's what I would say. And in addition, this is not really a good space for us to be talking about that and for you to share that. Please excuse me, and let's, come back when you've kind of figured out what you want to talk about. Okay? This means learning to say no, or say no in a non-defensive way. Like, don't say no. Say no. I don't want to talk about this right now. And you don't have to ever say anything else. So there are 3 ways to say no to trauma dumping. 1, learn about the threat brain and share it with your friends, partners, how trauma dumping increases threat brain activity and creates anxiety and stress in both of you. Let your friend, your partner know that when your threat brain is activated, it makes trauma worse. And research shows that breathing slowly and regularly is better than talking when we are feeling fearful. Invite your friend, partner, whoever it is, to stop talking and to breathe. And you can do this together. I've done that many times. People come to me and start talking. Let's stop. Let's breathe. Because I don't know what you're talking about. So I need you to calm down and breathe. And so we breathe together. And then all of a sudden, it kind of changes. Okay, 3, don't see this person when you are tired or stressed. When you do see them, rehearse beforehand how you will say no. Perhaps by telling them that you will listen for 10 minutes only. But I'm going to tell you that saying that will open the floodgates, because I don't know anyone that just can talk 10 minutes unless you're going to put the timer on in front of them. Then I might just insult them. Who knows? Trauma dumping is not the same as having post-traumatic stress disorder. Dumping describes people in the general population who have tendencies to over-emote. It is not an appropriate term to describe people who have experienced genuine trauma and find themselves overwhelmed because of it. That's not the same. So don't think I'm saying that about those that really experience trauma. Post-traumatic stress disorder is potentially serious, with flashbacks and potential memories disorganizing the mind and the ability to relate to others. And it's more likely to require serious effort on the part of the listener to assist with finding help. Trauma dumping, on the other hand, requires a listener to manage the impact on others and the relationship. I hope that you've gotten something out of what I said today, and don't go around trauma dumping if you are just having a bad day. Go through those 3 things and say no with kindness, and check on yourself. This is Edna White signing off. See you next time around.